This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com.
Hey everybody, it's your old pal Rob. Today we're going to be talking, and this is the last negative video of the year. But I think it's got to be done. It has to be said, and these companies have to be pointed out. And I want to point out some of the worst companies. I guess the best way to put it is companies that I've been very disappointed with this year. And how they are just putting out stuff and I almost feel like they're driving people away from board gaming in some, or role playing even in some instances with some of their practices. There are, on the other side of this, in a couple of days, you'll be seeing some of the best companies of the year that have really shined. And when you have companies that do things just so well, and then other ones that are really just disappointing, and there are more good than there are bad. And you can't say bad because, again, this is just my opinion. But it's kind of where I thought it would end up, and how disappointing and how it hurts gaming in general. And, without further ado, basically, I want to talk about these few companies that have been really, really disappointing in a lot of ways. And one of them, I kind of feel bad, and this is kind of an honorable mention, is Compass Games. I really like their war games and stuff like that, but because it's American made, I really have a hard time with this, is because when you pay $120 and you open up the box and there's not a lot in there, for me it's kind of disappointing, and I've kind of shied away from purchasing stuff. They did come out with a really good game, I believe it's Banners or something like that, but it was another one that I stood away from because the price was too high. And with prices rising, people raising prices and all the things that are going on to cause this, you're hoping that you would get more in the box, because cardboard really doesn't cost a lot, of course, to produce it someplace else. It does cost a lot, or to produce it here, it even costs even more. And that's why this really isn't that they make bad games. It's the price is too high. It really is. When you see what GMT's doing and how well they do things, which we'll talk about them in another video, it's just they do things right. The effort's there, the caring's there for Compass, but for me, it's just, you're not getting your money's worth a lot of times. And there's been a lot of mistakes and misprints, and there's stuff that I'm missing in certain games that I open up, and you'd want the quality control to be a little bit better. But to really hit home, and these are in no particular order, we're going to kind of hit a little bit on these. Paizo with Pathfinder. I think they made what I consider the worst game of the year, and that's Pathfinder Arena. Their role-playing game is great. They changed the system. Some people really liked it last year, and some people don't like it. The next edition. And I really like Pathfinder. I love the card game. I love some of the things that they've done. But this Pathfinder Arena was horrific. It kind of spells out everything wrong with board gaming now, and Kickstarter and all this other stuff. We'll save that for another video. I wanted to mention them as one of my most disappointing companies of the year, especially putting that out when I paid a ton of money for nothing. Games Workshop. I have such a love-hate relationship with them, and I think a lot of people do. You are either a champion of theirs or you are not. You know, they came out with another edition of 40K. I just didn't think it was very good. As a matter of fact, I didn't even mess with it because I just felt it was going to be a disaster. They just let all their specialty games just go to hell. Okay, not much for Blood Bowl this year. You got a Chaos team and I think an Amazon team. You know, I would love to see more for Dungeon Bowl. Space Hulk is out there in the ether. Okay, the Warhammer Quest, you know, the last thing was Curse City. That was a disaster. Okay, and then they just redo everything and just think it's going to be all right. The same thing with Age of Sigmar. Now we're into a new edition of that, and I just have, there's just nothing. And I'm sure they're selling and they're doing great, but when they start listening to stockholders instead of the people around them, the people that where they can print money doing things, they just don't care, and I don't think you matter. And to be honest with them, the specialty games don't make them the money that they hoped for. You know, I always remember what one person said that worked there. We're not a gaming company, we're a modeling company. And I kind of scratched my head with that. The game is supposed to showcase the miniatures, not the other way around, the miniatures showcasing the game. It's one of those things that I'll never understand, but Games Workshop is Games Workshop, and it's just another year of just blah, and I was pretty disappointed with it. Another company is good old FFG. All right, what happened to them? Descent is pretty much a disgrace, like I said years ago, but everybody thought, you know, wanted to run at me with pitchforks and torches, and you know, when I said, hey, you know, this isn't that good, but you know, people want to die on the mountain for that. Okay, well, again, it's just my opinion, doesn't mean anything. You know, just a ton of expansions and redoing things for Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, and it was a very lackluster, disappointing year for FFG. And you know, what was once a company that when you would go to Gen Con, you could not wait for what they were going to release, because you knew that they were up to just greatness. And those days are long gone, and this company, I really feel, is not what it used to be, and very disappointing. It was the symbol of excellence in board gaming, and now it's a shell of itself, and disappointment. How could we have a list of disappointing companies if we didn't put Mythic on it, and their disaster, closing their doors, people still not being able to get their money or their product. This is just everything wrong with some companies that live and die by Kickstarter. And for me, Mythic just doesn't, you know, it was one of the bigger companies, and I think it's done a lot of injustice, and it done a lot of things that were dirty. You know, when Sam needed to move and do something, Sam Healy from the Dice Tower, you know, they hired him on, and within a year they were laying him off. And you know, it was a real shame, and it just speaks to, you know, here they take a guy away from, you know, where he was at home with Dice Tower, and they throw, you know, all this stuff at him, and the next thing you know, they're booting him out the door. I'll never forgive them for that. The things that they haven't come through with, Then when, then they just sold everything to kind of like Miniature Market, and Miniature Market, just has all this stuff on discount and stuff like that. And it's a shame because they did make some decent games, but a lot of it was flawed and had a lot of issues, and was very, very disappointing. And Mythic will just continue to be the benchmark of disappointing companies that just thought they were bigger than what they were. And boy, they are burning like no other. I this one I have a hard time with, and it's Mantic. For me, Worms was a massive disappointment. Halo was a reskin of Dead Zone. Dungeon Saga Origins was a sales pitch. Okay, it really just kind of, I don't know, took away everything. It almost has become a poor man's GW and Games Workshop, and they're almost following the same practices. I remember a year or two ago, I had the owner on to discuss certain things, and great salesman, said all the things that you wanted to hear, and I was excited for this company. I said, I'll help you any way you can, and we never heard from them again. And then they just started putting out a lot of dribble, and really, really disappointing. I still love, on the positive side, Armada. I still love Armada. I still love Dead Zone to a degree, and the original Dungeon Saga. It just, the newer stuff has just really kind of been disappointing. The quality, their quality control has always been a mess that they don't seem to be able to get under control, where other companies can, smaller companies can. And, I'm torn on this because I want to love them. I really do. I don't take great pleasure in making a video like this. But I also have to, I like speaking my mind. This is my channel. And, this isn't going to sit well with some people, and it's understandable. But, again, it's just my opinion. It doesn't really mean much. And I just don't feel, and I don't buy. I really don't. I went, and the last thing I really tried, I tried the Halo. It was horrible. Dungeon Saga, I dumped a ton of money into the all-in, and it was disappointing at best. And Worms, I paid a ridiculous amount for that collector's edition because I thought, well, maybe this would be the one video game that they can translate to a board game. This does make kind of sense. And it was flat. It really was, for me. And just utterly disappointing, to say the least. But finally, there's just one that has taken the complete control and is going to drive us into the Dark Ages. And that's good old Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. Okay. Boy, what a mess Dungeons and Dragons has become. It doesn't know where it's going. It's taken something that was so historic. You could kind of see where they want to go with the online stuff, and people have been just absolutely, screaming from the top of the mountains. And I've kind of walked away from the old Dungeons and Dragons, and I kind of just stick with my first, second, and third edition books, and just say, you know what, I'll stop here. I don't need anything new, and I'll go, I'll just stay in the past. Maybe that's the way of an old man, but this is the company that also came out with And Hero Quest, it just doesn't seem it knows where it wants to go. I would love to see them do advanced Hero Quest. But, you know, what they've done with anything that they've touched, it almost feels as if it's very cheap. It's very run down. And it's just not doing it. What they're doing to Dungeons and Dragons is absolutely disgraceful at best. And, you know, I just don't see any particularly good future or how this ends in a positive light for them. People are looking for alternatives and things. Look, you know, with Critical Role and how they look at things. You know, that was the biggest, you know, the biggest advertiser for Dungeons and Dragons and role playing, and people were really coming in flocks. And now I just feel that, you know, with some of the things that they've done, it's really dragging and destroying some of these games that were absolutely historic. And who knows where it's going to go. And next year, you know, you hope these companies can kind of maybe see a light and turn things around a bit, because they are important to gaming. And if they don't, I just don't know where we go from there. Now, on the other side, there's a lot of great companies out there, so we can talk a lot about them. But you know, when you have big companies like this that are just not doing it, I mean, could be big problems for the gaming industry. Again, this is just my opinion. So, without any further ado, until next time, my dear friends, it is your old pal Rob. We'll see you soon, everybody.